about everything from comics to movies to video games and everything in between. Today's special episode is the beginning of our October season.
Why are you talking like that?
Just for the episode, man. Come on, it's October.
Spooky season.
It's spooky season. It's coming up on Halloween. It's fine. All right, just go with it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LAD podcast, where today we will be talking about our favorite horror video games. An episode that we've been talking about for a while, and I'm super excited about. I don't know about Dalton.
Well, let me say something real quick. It doesn't necessarily have to be horror.
No, suspense.
Suspense, horror, scary, anything that constitutes anything from like jump scares or anything that can be associated with horror or like just frightful things.
Yeah.
Can be included in this because some of the things aren't necessarily horror.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it can be to some people.
Mm-hmm.
But
something
I just wanted to say that just because it's not necessarily horror games.
Well, yeah,
some of these games aren't horror, but some of them are.
Okay. Well, today we're talking about our favorite horror, suspense, video games. Pretty much video games that have to do with spooky season, I guess, in a way, and you know what our favorite ones are that we've played or at least watched in person. A little different thing from today than we haven't done in the past is that this episode's not going to be a ranking.
Thank God.
Just going to be us talking, and we just want you to know that rankings aren't always going to be the thing we do, but we needed to do it for Marvel and for Avenged Sevenfold, and now we're going into just talking about a couple things, and we're going to do that, I think, mostly through the month of October, and maybe going on past that.
Well, yeah, because a lot of these, it's a lot of the topics that I want to talk about, that we want to talk about in future episodes, aren't necessarily ranking. Like, you just talk about either the topic in particular of a person it may be.
Yeah.
And you can talk about things, but not necessarily ranking. Those can be... I kind of want to put off ranking for a little bit.
Yeah,
until,
I agree.
Like, maybe Star Wars or Harry Potter, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, though.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to start talking about, more maybe suspenseful horror movies and all of that in the month of October, and hopefully we'll figure out something to do in November. Maybe we'll talk about some Christmas stuff in December, and then try to start off the new year right with the newest year of the LAD podcast, the first full year that we'll be doing it, and I think that'll be something that we'll enjoy.
Well, hopefully
full year. Yes, we might have to take another break. Something might happen. Who knows?
Well, hopefully looking forward to next year, or possibly next year we could also do video. Or
physical video podcast. Yeah,
I'd like to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sure, be not as boring as just hearing our voices.
I don't think it's boring.
I don't think it's boring either, but it's a change of atmosphere.
I'd like to be able to have my own setup, or at least people see the setup, and to do stuff like that. Right now, our setup is just bland. I think.
Well, it's a room.
It's just
a room.
Yeah, it's a room, and it's just pretty much a lot of black and white, pretty much. I'm not going to lie. But, getting into the topic, though, because today we are talking about horror video games and suspenseful video games. Do you like playing horror video games, Dalton?
It depends. I don't have bad anxiety. Like, I don't have diagnosed anxiety problems.
Yeah.
But certain games, like suspense games, like heighten up my anxiety. Especially, I'm not going to say the game right now, but I know for a fact we're going to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Got plenty to talk about.
Brings up my anxiety to a certain level that I can play it, but I hate it. Even in games that aren't scary. Like, I think one, for example, recent is Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
It's not a scary game, but it's still got a jump scare with a giant spider on Kashyyyk. That scares the piss out of me. One, because it's a giant spider. Two, it's literally a jump scare because if you step on a web, they jump on you from the sky. Yeah. And so, I'm trying to, especially on that planet, you try to watch where you're stepping because if you don't, you step on a giant web and a giant spider comes and attacks you.
Yeah.
Even a small game, or not small game, but like a game like that's not even horror can bring up my anxiety. I like watching people play it.
Yeah.
I watch Markiplier all the time playing certain scary games. but something like that, I can endure it, but I hate making decisions because if I get scared or if I just
I think
my
I know what
anxiety's
game
up.
we're going to be talking about with that.
Well, yeah, it's the one because we've talked about it most recently.
Yeah, it was actually the most recent horror game we played or replayed. Do you like watching it in person though? Because I know when me and Alexia were playing the game that we were talking about, but I don't want to get into it quite yet. You left the room, I guess, because it was suspenseful. I don't know. I guess, and also you were busy. I mean, it's not like you were just like scared about it, but like
what I was doing. No, it's because like I knew certain decisions were coming up because I remembered the game.
Yeah.
And my anxiety started going up. It was like, okay, I hate this. I hate quick time events when it's like in certain situations like this, especially when it's life or death for a certain character. I cannot do it. I don't like watching it because what if they make the wrong decision by accident? I don't like it. I can watch people play certain games, just like I can watch certain horror movies. But some I can't. Mostly just because I hate most modern horror movies just because they rely too much on gratuitous kills and jump scares and cheap jump scares.
Yeah.
Or just certain imagery that is just not necessary for a horror film.
I agree.
Same thing with games. Like certain games, if you balance it right, it's fine. But if my anxiety gets up too much, I would not do it. I will walk away or I'll turn around and do something else because I'm not a but like I cannot sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I can be fine, but just certain things is a limit for me. It's like, all right, I got to step back for a second. I don't want to do it because I can envision myself just messing up so bad that I just can't. Especially with that certain game.
Yeah. Well, I have a particular list of games that I wanted to talk about.
I have everything on the top of my head.
Yeah, that's why. Because like I had a list, and you were like, "I got this. I'll talk about it."
Well, just because there's only a certain number of games that I'd really care to talk about.
If I miss a game that you were talking about, please bring it up. And all that stuff. But I have.
And if we miss anything that any of you guys like, put it in the comments.
Exactly.
Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe.
And ring that bell. Ring that bell.
Well, you can ring it, yeah, just on the off chance that 1 week you'll get an episode.
Yeah. No, we're going to try to keep it a little more constant. But go ahead, let's just dive on in. The first one I really wanted to talk about, let's get it off with a classic. Resident Evil 4.
You just talk about the whole Resident Evil franchise.
Yes, we can talk about the entire Resident Evil franchise while we're talking about it.
You don't have any more Resident Evil games on there, do you?
No, this is just particularly my favorite.
We can talk about the particular one and then talk about the others too.
Well, this one's all about our favorites, and that one just happens to be my favorite Resident Evil.
Talk about the franchise.
Well, yes, and we will. This is the one I like the most.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know
because it's not about Raccoon City and all that stuff. That's pretty much what I want to get into. This game was released in, I believe it was early 2005. It was the first Resident Evil that really didn't have to go into your typical zombie game. It was more about a kind of like a village that you had to go through, and then they had Chainsaw Man. I know you know Chainsaw Man.
I just thought of something.
Go ahead.
So you know how is it Resident Evil 8 that's coming out?
Yes.
It's called The Village.
Yeah. It might have something to do with it.
Do you think it could tie into Resident Evil 4?
Maybe.
Could they be bringing back Leon?
Possibly.
Even as a camo, because apparently they were bringing somebody back. I think. I can't remember. It's in the trailer. The guy's in the trailer, and he says his name. I don't know if he's supposed to be a person, like that's already been in the franchise. Also, I'd like to know, whenever that trailer came out during the first like PlayStation 5 stuff.
Announcement.
The announcement where we got the first look. I totally called it, because I said, this looks a lot like Resident Evil. Because it was first person, just like Resident Evil 7.
It started making it. They started doing first person in Resident Evil 7, and it's just
so
like
I called
weird.
it first of all, and I was right, because it said The Village first, and then it went to 8.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like to point that out because I did call it.
The thing is Resident Evil 4 isn't all about the villagers, I guess you would call them. When I say villagers, I only think about Minecraft nowadays. But it's really not all about the village, but.
No, because it
could have
out.
but it could have a tie-in with Resident Evil 8. Might not. Who knows? But in this game, you play as Leon.
Yeah.
It's one of the earlier Resident Evil games. Resident Evil came out in the 90s, but this is mid 2000s, so this is still early on with their games. And what was interesting, I was reading into this game, and I didn't know this, and I didn't know if you knew. So if you did, maybe you knew before me.
We'll see.
Did you know that this game was originally supposed to be a GameCube exclusive?
I'm not gonna act like I knew that, but I feel like I've heard that.
Yeah, I didn't know
I feel
that.
like I've heard that on some kind of like ranking list or talking about certain games. I feel like I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that before though.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be a GameCube exclusive. However, I guess some things, fell through like later on, and it branched out to many different consoles. You'd see it on PC. It's on PS2, PS3, I believe. It's definitely on PS4.
Well, it's on PS4. Was it a remaster or was
it's pretty much just a remaster.
So it wasn't through PlayStation Now. It was through.
No,
it was on physical disc.
They totally made it on a disc and a digital copy of it. I think I don't know if they did really, but they said they were going to remake it. Did they? I'm not quite sure.
No,
I can't remember.
I don't know if they said they were going to remake it, but
they mentioned remaking it.
A lot of signs have pointed towards them remaking it because they remade Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Exactly. So it would be nice to get a remake of that game. Because it is, honestly, it probably is the best Resident Evil game that come out so far.
And it's really cool because aren't you trying to save the president's daughter or something throughout?
Kind of,
and like depending on how fast you are, you could like
you
can lose because she can turn into like a zombie or something.
Well, you don't really lose, but yeah, you kind of like that happens.
Well, you have to restart it.
Pretty much.
You have to reload to the next checkpoint. I think it's instant. You have to reload because she kills you right after.
Yeah, it's pretty bullcrap.
Like you have to be quick enough, or you have to do a certain thing. It's been years since I've seen it, but you have to do a certain thing, or else she's gonna turn. And also bring up Resident Evil 2, just because that is the most Resident Evil 2 and 3, but 2 was the one that really got highlighted.
Oh yeah,
because everybody started playing it. I know Markiplier and Jacksepticeye started playing it, and I know I'd try to follow up watching that because I never played the Resident Evil games.
I've played them here and there, but not. I never really got to do Resident Evil 7. I did the demo when it came out. Like the moment it came out, I played the demo, finished it in like an hour. It was pretty amazing, but never really got to play the game. Resident Evil 6, I remember playing, but never really like went through it. I played Raccoon City a little bit, not too much.
I think I touched Raccoon City a little bit.
4 got through a bit of it, but never finished it. But I watched my cousin play it, or our cousin. My apologies. We played it on the GameCube, and I watched that all that stuff. That's where I got introduced with the chainsaw guy, which is the scariest part of the game. And then we also I watched him play it a little bit on the PS4 when it first he purchased it like when it first came out, and then we played it.
One thing I will say about Resident Evil 4, I don't know if you knew this. So in the village, I think it's near the village, there's a lake. You have to go into a lake as part of a mission. There's a monster in the lake, like a giant. I think it's a giant crocodile or something, like a mutant crocodile. Well, before you even play the mission, you can technically get it to show its face early. If you stand on the bank, or stand on the either at a bank or the dock right there, if you shoot the water a bunch of times, it'll come up and eat you.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Because it's so stupid. Because it'll come up and eat you, and I think it gives you like a message saying something about you weren't supposed to do.
Yeah,
that.
Don't shoot the water.
Yeah, don't shoot the water is what it says.
Yeah, I think
it's hilarious.
The biggest highlight of this game is definitely, two things. Number one, playing as Leon, always great. But number two, like I said, and I know it's probably, tedious at this point, but Chainsaw Guy was the scariest part of this game. Just jumping out and just getting.
Is there a nemesis in it?
It's been a while since I played through.
Because like in Resident Evil 7, or not 7, in Resident Evil 2 you had Mr. X.
Yeah. Which is probably just as scary as Chainsaw Guy.
Mr. X is. Have you seen it?
Oh, scary. Yes. And especially from the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Just because he shows up anywhere. Resident Evil 3, I know it had... I think that's when it had Nemesis.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I only know his name just because of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not even going to lie. He's in that.
Infinite or 3?
Infinite.
Oh.
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is where Nemesis is in it.
I never really got to play Infinite.
Because one of the other... He's from Raccoon City, I think.
Yeah.
He's in it. I know he's in it because you have a certain mission with him. But that's the only reason I know his name, and then watching other stuff. I know they're in it, but I'm not... Because they went into a different direction with 4, is he still in it? Is her name Ava?
Oh, God.
It's just some chick that starts with an A. She was introduced to Leon, at least. I don't know if it was the entire series in Resident Evil 2. She's in it. I know for a fact she has to be. Because I don't know how many games have Leon in it, other than the 2.
6,
5?
I think Leon had. Yeah, I think 5 and 6 Leon was in.
Maybe.
I don't know. I never got to play 5 at all, and 6 I touched and then really didn't get into
6
it.
Was it 5 or 6 that was just a down, like a...
6.
Okay, it was 6.
It was.
Just
Here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. 6 was advertised and it looked really good. It was like going back to like the older, I guess the older type.
Style.
Yeah, and then boom, just disappointment. Only because it's not a bad.
Just about like
it's
the Resident Evil
kind of like
movies.
I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to compare it to. It's like one of those. You ever had one of those games where it's like it's good, but it didn't live up to the expectations, like a sequel.
Yeah.
Like, that's what that pretty much was. It was just, it didn't live up to the expectations. There's something I'm thinking about. There's a certain game, but I can't even think about it. That was, like, good, but it didn't live up.
Sky?
But there's not a sequel for that. So
No,
that's what I'm referring to.
Well, technically, there was. It was just an update.
Yes, okay. There you go.
Sequel that...
I can't think of what it is. I really can't.
Well, I mean, you could probably compare it to, trying to think. Oh, crap. Maybe you can literally compare it to any of the newer Call of Duties.
Yeah.
The futuristic Call of Duties, because they were letdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I don't know.
There's one comparison that I can think of right now of a letdown, but I don't want to get into it because it's later on the list. So I might mention it if I remember, but, you know, I'm scatterbrained, so who knows. But moving on, Resident Evil, the franchise in general, is really good, but 4 is one of the ones that I think about all the time. Moving on to another game that I really like, or at least did before a lot of stuff went on. I wanted to touch upon Slenderman.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about Slenderman. Slender, The Arrival, or 8 Pages?
Both of them. Actually, it's on my list of talk about both.
Because I know Arrival technically had the 8 Pages in it, but it wasn't the traditional 8 Pages. Oh, my God. You just brought back memories. Oh,
yeah.
No. Oh, my God. I remember being scared. Just less. Oh, my God. Especially, all right, so we got introduced to Slenderman not just because of, like, internet and YouTube, but it was because of our cousin. He would play it on his computer.
You're going to hear about him a lot because he introduced us to a lot of games.
And he's older than us, too.
Yeah,
so.
he introduced us to a lot of the horror games that we know. Like, Resident Evil 4 would know nothing about it if it wasn't for him. Yeah. So I do appreciate that he showed us
Might as well just not being anonymous. Our cousin Nick, he lived out in the woods. He lived out in the woods when we were younger. Before
it was pretty much a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, it was basically a cabin in the woods. But what was so creepy was the fact that he would show us that. You know, we were watching him playing Slender the 8 Pages, and we'd all get scared. This is years ago. And then we'd go outside.
Into the woods.
Or if we were there until it got dark.
Yeah, and we would still go outside.
And you'd be scared because it's like, you're still young, so it's like, in the back of your head, you know it's not real. But it's like, Slenderman. It's Slenderman. Oh my God. Run.
Yeah, it was kind of like
now
that.
I know. I was trying to guess what the game was when you were saying it, but now I know why you were saying that.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get into the thing because
briefly.
Well, let me... In 2000, I think it was 9... Slenderman was... Well, not the game. Oh. Slenderman was a creepypasta. It was the creepypasta before it became a video game.
Well, yeah.
The game was based off of it. Yeah. And pretty much... 8 Pages was released. We'll get back into the games in a second, but 8 Pages was released in June of 2012, and The Arrival was released in March of 2013. However, there was a Slenderman stabbing in Wisconsin in 2014. I think it was two preteens.
Yeah, they stabbed a girl because
one of their friends to the woods and stabbed them
in the name of Slenderman for him to show his face because they thought it was real.
Yeah, and see that's why I get that creepypastas are supposed to seem... They're fiction, but they're supposed to seem a little bit realistic and that this could happen. But the thing is that went way too far.
Yeah, didn't they get jail time for that?
Yes. I think the person who was stabbed survived.
I think she survived. I don't think she died.
Yeah.
Because, you also have to mention the god-awful movie that came out.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The thing is even though when I think about Slenderman, the first thing I think about is the thing that happened in 2014.
However, that's not the first thing.
That's one of the first things I think about because I remember the entire that entire franchise felt like it was just, covered up by the thing that happened, which rightfully so. You know what I mean? It's a creepypasta that caused harm upon someone. I'm not saying that that's
Yeah, you could have said the same thing about Jeff the Killer.
Yeah, exactly. I would say the same thing about
Jeff
that
the Killer
too.
was big. He still creeps the hell out of me.
However, I'm bringing up this game as one of my favorite games, and even though that happened,
More for
I'm
nostalgia.
not making money off of this, but the people who made the movie did after something already happened.
The thing is, I think the whole thing with the movie, the parents, I don't know if it was of the victim or of the two girls.
I think it was the two girls.
They were really
sure.
like they had a problem with the movie because of the material in it. And I guess some of the things that happened in it was kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it was a lawsuit. It might have been a lawsuit. They might have been taken to court. It might have been settled out of court. I don't really remember hearing much about it after. Well, also, here's the thing about the movie. Despite the real-life incident that happened, the movie was rated PG-13.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about Slenderman, that is not a PG-13
I think of straight-up violence.
Esque. All right, say without all the things going on, in the future, if they were to make another Slenderman movie, like to start fresh, what you do is you just take the basis of the 8 pages and turn it into a movie.
Yeah.
Like, because you can have a real script, you can have a reason.
A lot of fan films were based off of the 8 pages.
Yeah. I know there was an indie movie that came out. Mm-hmm. I can't remember its name, but it was about Slenderman, but it wasn't like blatantly about it. It wasn't on the
God,
it wasn't on the cover.
Yes.
It was something about something like it had to do with him calling, because in Slenderman it's something to do with picking up the phone sometimes and you just hear static and it's Slenderman or something.
Yeah, I remember that because they had you could purchase
it. Was that Walmart?
Yeah, you could even find it at movie rental stores like Blockbuster.
Yeah, well, Blockbuster.
Yeah, you could get stuff at like Blockbuster or a Family Video or something like that. You could get it there.
God, you really told our age right there with Blockbuster.
I mean, it's whatever.
Blockbuster was not. Quick tangent. Blockbuster was not around, at least around here where we are, by the time that indie Slenderman movie came out.
No, I was just referring to rental movie stores.
One movie that did come out that reminded me of Blockbuster because it was in horror section. 2, actually. One was Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know the movie at all, so I can't say anything. Another film was, I think it was like Wrong Number, because the cover, the person's eyes was mouths.
Yeah,
and it just creeps you out as a kid.
Yeah.
It was really weird. But back
I didn't
to
like
Slender.
going down that aisle. I won't.
I mean, besides all the controversy that surrounded it, it's still a good game.
It's a solid game.
It's a solid indie game.
The thing is I think it was the creepypasta that caused the... Like, none of the stuff that's like, that they learned about, that's not in the video game.
No, because it's just... the game is just a first-person game. You don't see any violence.
Yeah.
Except maybe in Arrival, in
a little
the
bit,
later parts of Arrival. But in 8 pages, you don't see anything. It's nothing. You just find notes. And it's just, you try to avoid the Slender Man.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that the game has nothing to do with the lore around the character. But
really it doesn't, because it took on its own lore.
But, no, getting into the game, though, we're starting off with the 8 pages, because I want to have enough time for both of them. The 8 pages, pretty much, as Dalton was just saying, it's as simple as you are in the woods in a random, area, and you're just finding 8 pieces of paper on trees and maybe on a bathroom stall. And
it's like it's randomly placed. It could be on a tree. It could be on a car.
Could be on a broken down truck. Stuff like that. I mean, really, it's as simple as that. And just stay away from Slenderman. If you see static, run away. Stuff like that.
Hear static or something. Run away.
And if you see him, run away, because I mean, the character Enderman in Minecraft, the Endermans, is pretty much based off that. So if
it is.
If you look at Enderman, he comes after you. If you look at Slenderman, he comes after you.
We start stalking.
Yeah, he starts stalking you closer and closer and closer until
somehow
he gets
run away.
you. Exactly. And I think I never got to finish 8 pages, and I don't think Nick ever got to finish 8 pages while we were hanging out with him. But I think you die at the end of 8 pages.
Either way, you die.
You get all the pages and you still die.
But Arrival really wasn't that much different, just because the first thing you play is 8 pages, and then it turns into something with a story. And like you're searching in the woods or something, You come across a cabin. You're trying to look for your sister, is what it is.
Yeah, eight pages is involved in the Arrival, but Arrival
it's the first game.
Is most definitely more involved in the story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Arrival...
But not in the lore, though. Not in
No.
the lore of it, but just its own type of story.
Well, Arrival, like I said, the first game is 8 pages. The first thing you do in that game is 8 pages.
Yeah.
And then you go on to the second chapter, and then I think there's a third chapter where...
I think there's 4
Maybe, I don't
chapters,
even
something along
remember.
the lines of that.
3 or 4.
This game came out in 2013, so it was one of the first games that came out on the PS4 when it came to like digital copies and all that stuff.
2015, the last time we
Yeah,
seen
and
something about
2014, 2015 we played it. I can't remember which year it was, but it was early on, so it's been 5-6 years since we played it. So I don't remember exactly the order of things, but I think it was like 4 chapters, something like that.
Something like that, 3 or 4.
There might have been 5. I'm not sure. It went on for a bit. It took about 4 or 5 hours to get through.
Yeah.
So, especially for someone who was clueless and had no idea where to go. But yeah, I think that game has a legacy in horror games, but at the same time, it's kind of
At least
overshadowed
indie horror
by
games.
something that was honestly tragic, and I guess in a way, rightfully so, it's kind of covered. But, you can't... Sometimes the stuff on the internet really gets to people, and that shows, stuff like that. But going ahead and moving on from...
Well, before you get to the next one on your list,
Go
I
ahead.
just want to go real quick because I brought it up a second ago. SCP.
Yes.
Containment Breach is the game. Just because it is one of those games that has been covered so much, especially by Markiplier. He is one of the people that... He loves SCP. He loves the lore and stuff of SCP. And just playing the game, and it's... I think it was either the redone version of it or an update of it that he played. I watch it sometimes, but just the fact that you can... It's based off of a creepypasta.
Mm-hmm.
Literally off of a website for SCP. And SCP stands for Special Containment Breach. It's literally just a bunch of, like, anomalies or monsters or anything contained from the public eye, and you're playing as somebody in the SCP building, like an employee, just trying to survive after some SCPs get out. Because you're in the containment facility and something goes wrong. I know in the original game it was the SCP that basically if you look at it, you die. Or no, if you blink, you die. If you look at it.
Yeah.
Because it'll snap your neck.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the new one, he got like a update. I don't like it as much, but I just wanted to bring that up real quick because SCP is one of those indie horror games that have really gotten attention, and it's really highlighted by some of the bigger gamers out there.
Yes. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next game. I'm gonna go ahead and go to this one. I have a certain list of the ones I wanted to go in order. However, I want to move to this one because it's really not a horror game, and I know Don's gonna give me a look. And that is GTA 5 and GTA Online.
Now, are you talking about Murder Maze?
Not necessarily Murder Maze.
Or are you
because...
talking about like? Are you talking about like the hidden lore in?
So I'll
with
go
the,
ahead and
with the murderer and stuff.
I will start off with GTA 5, and then we'll get to GTA Online. Because GTA 5, it's just stuff that you can find in the game, while GTA Online is like a festive game mode that you can play. But
Is that a
GTA
slasher?
Yes, we're gonna get into it. But GTA 5, we're gonna talk about it, and that is there is that mystery of that murder and all that stuff. Didn't ever really get into it, but was very interested in it.
Well, it was small little Easter eggs. You don't get anything from it
No.
other than finding random places that has it. But I'm actually going to branch off after you talk about GTA Online and talk about something else that coincides with this. I don't know if you haven't listened or not, but like the murderer, it's like he's connected to something. Well, there's multiple things. It's not just the murderer. You know, you have the murderer that's got like tiny little Easter eggs talking about how many people he's killed. I think he killed like 8 people or something. And you can find it in different places. Then you have the ghost.
Yeah, that's what I was
There's
gonna
a
refer
Vinewood
to.
sign that was murdered. And it's like there's a paper talking about it. There's that weird shrine on Mount Chiliad. There's aliens you can spot after you 100% complete the game. There's an alien spaceship down in the ocean that you can find. Bigfoot, just because of the peyote mission.
Yes.
That I know of. Aliens, again, during the mission where he's tripping on whatever kind of drug that he had to take.
Yes. Michael?
Yeah.
Yes. Because Trevor also does the same thing. However, it is
is
clowns, which is just as scary.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when he gets abducted.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But when he does,
Okay, but let's be honest. Those clowns are scary.
yeah.
Though.
Well, it's a certain guy that's trying to run for office or something and legalize weed or something. Legalize
something
marijuana,
along
sorry.
those lines, yeah.
But his marijuana is weird. 2 to 3 main characters do it. Franklin doesn't because he's like, man, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
And you actually do missions for him after that. It's weird. But, yeah, I didn't even think about GTA. But online, it's not just slasher.
No, but that was the one I really want to bring up because that was something that I enjoyed
Well, there's
playing.
one that's like the Beast or something. Like one person turns into a werewolf and
yeah,
you're supposed to kill
but
him.
that, in my opinion, if you don't have like 10 plus players, it's not fun.
I don't know if you're supposed to have that many players.
Because we did it with, it was you, me, and Ethan. It really wasn't that fun.
I mean, I feel like it was just not fun because we kind of lagged out.
Yeah, I agree, but mostly I wanted to talk about Slasher as that was something that we played very often and I really enjoyed during the October Halloween season. Do you want to talk about it?
I can, yeah. It
Go
was Slasher was a game mode. The original Slasher, not the like the redone Slasher that they did with the stupid different buildings. The original Slasher missions in GTA Online for the little games you could play. It was one slasher versus how many other people there were that you could have. Basically, it's, one killer. Everyone else he has a gun or he has a machete. It's better to play with the machete because the gun is too quick. The machete you can at least try to slash. It's called slasher for a reason, not...
Well, I think the biggest thing with the gun is that, you have the machete, which will take a couple times to hit, and then you have a shotgun that, if you don't kill him in one, it's definitely going to kill him in 2.
Well,
shots.
really, I feel like... Well, and then getting back to it, what I was about to say, adding on to that, after a certain amount of time, the hunters become the hunted become the hunters, and the hunter becomes the hunted because the people that you're trying to kill eventually get a shotgun, and they can come after you. I think you're supposed to use the shotgun as the killer during that moment, just because it's kind of unfair for a knife in a gunfight, pretty much. But
I think once you have a certain amount of time, then you should use that. You should use the shotgun because it really is unfair if you just have the machete.
But you could still kill the killer with your flashlight.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Because it's technically a weapon, and you can just bop them if you can try to pay attention.
You know what's really sad is when the hunted, I guess you would call them, kill the slasher with the flashlight while they have the shotgun.
Yeah.
And it's just really embarrassing
It's kinda
for the
redundant.
slasher. Yeah. I've watched that happen, and I've done that a couple of times. So.
But building off to GTA, Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, let's talk about
Mostly, well, two things. Undead Nightmare in the original game, and then the vampire in the second game. Because Undead Nightmare was it was a DLC for the original Red Dead Redemption back in 2010. The Undead Nightmare might have came out in 2011. Maybe 2010, I'm not sure.
I think it was 2011.
But it was so successful that it became its own standalone game that you could buy. I remember Undead Nightmare, not just for the... I didn't really play Undead Nightmare for the story campaign. I played the Undead Nightmare Red Dead Redemption bundle for the online. Because I remember playing online, and that's where I was really enjoying Red Dead Online, even though I didn't play it for that long. I was kind of disappointed with Red Dead 2 Online. But in Undead Nightmare, basically what it is, it's a plague, a zombie plague that is started by a mask. Like, the mask is the whole reason that it happens. John Marston is the main character in it. Everyone from Uncle to Jack to his wife get turned into zombies. And he doesn't kill them, I don't think. I think he just leaves them alone.
He ties them up and he leaves them in his
Except
house.
for Uncle. He kills Uncle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think he blows his head off. But the whole game is basically you trying to figure out how to stop this plague, and you run into different people. You actually run into a Bigfoot at one point, and you have the option to kill... After you defeat the Bigfoot, you have the option to kill him or spare him, and he's legit just a sad, weeping mess because he's the last of his kind. If you choose to, not kill him, you can kill him afterwards anyway, and he'll start running away, and it's really sad, honestly, if you decide to kill him after that. It's kind of pathetic. But Like, the whole game is just you fighting zombies in Old Wild West. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then Red Dead 2, they have not, in the last 2 years that it's been out, almost 2 years, if not right at 2 years, they have not announced a single DLC for it, which is very disheartening because a lot of people were hoping for a Red Dead Undead Nightmare 2, be it zombies or vampires. Either way would be really cool, but...
I mean, I would like to think they would be working on GTA 6. However, who knows if that's even ever going to come out.
Well, we're focused on GTA Online and Red Dead Online right now.
Yeah, but Red Dead 2 Online's not too good.
It's trying to make a comeback. It's the same thing with Red Dead or
Red
with
Dead
GTA
2,
Online. It was dead
Red
in the
Dead
water.
2 is superior to Red Dead 1. However, Red Dead Online from Red Dead 1 is superior to Red Dead 2 Online.
Yeah. But similarly with like the killer in GTA 5, you can find certain clues, and I cheated doing this. I cheated trying to find the vampire because I was like, I'm not patient enough to just like randomly find this crap. I'm gonna find it by looking it up. You have to find 5 clues in Saint Denis, that tie in with the vampire, and it makes the shape of a pentagram. And you have to go in between maybe midnight and 5 a.m. maybe. In order to see him in an alley, you have to go at a specific time in a specific alley, and it's the only time you can find him. And you get a short little cutscene, and he tries to kill you. He says the most random thing: "I'll suck you dry," whipping out a knife. Yes, he says because you can antagonize him, and it's like, "You better stay away, friend. I walk with the undead," and you just start antagonizing him. He's like telling you to leave and stuff. It's like, you say one thing, and he just turns at you, whips out his knife, and says, "I'll suck you dry," and charges at you.
You talking like that sounds like Micah.
Well, I mean, it kind of sounds like him. But you have to kill him. You can spare him by lassoing him, but unfortunately, he does not burn in the sunlight. But if you kill him, you get a special dagger, and that's the end of the thing. I don't know I think there is another Easter egg somewhere that talks about it. I'm not quite sure. And there is an Easter egg in Red Dead 2 with the mask from Red Dead Undead Nightmares in... is it Armadillo? I think it's Armadillo. Because there's that one plague town. And the mask is there, so that could be the answer for the plague. But I just wanted to go on that just because I know that we didn't probably think about it.
No, I didn't. I really didn't. And I wrote a whole list out and I didn't even think of it.
But continue with the next thing just because you can have a long list. Just of different games.
Well, I just wanted to talk about all of it, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows how long it will be until we do another horror game, episode. You know? Who knows? It might be next Halloween if we're still doing it on a certain schedule. Okay, I'll go ahead and move on to another one. One of my favorites, Layers of Fear.
I fucking hate that game. I hate Layers of Fear with a burning passion. I don't even care. I hate Layers of Fear with a passion. You can fight me on that. I was invested up until the end of the original Layers of Fear, and it pissed me off. Same thing with Never Ending Nightmares. That game pissed me off too. Except for the giant Gerber baby. That was hilarious. But also the baby in Layers of Fear that just kept running in a loop in that hallway. The first time you see it, it's freaking hilarious because it keeps going and it catches you off guard.
Well, I'm still invested in this game, so we're going to talk about it.
And it's DLC. It did have a DLC, right?
Yes. This game was released in 2016 as a indie horror suspense game, and the reason why I kind of put a slash in between is it is horror. However, there's like one jump scare in the entire game. Most of it is just suspense of you thinking that something really horrifying is going to happen, and then it really never does. Not going to get really deep into the story of it and how it ends because play it yourself if you are a gamer. It doesn't end very happy. I'll go with that. And, if anyone wants to, look into it rather than play it, then you may. But I won't get too far into it. It then had a DLC that came out later in the year of 2016. It got a VR game. And then it also...
Oh, yeah, it did, didn't it?
And then it also got a sequel in 2019. I never got to finish the DLC. I think it was Inheritance.
You really didn't finish the game in its entirety because there was multiple different ways.
There's
it could
different
end.
endings, and I only did it once, but I mean, I finished the game. DLC, I got like halfway, if not like 75% done, and then I stopped it. I don't know why. The second one I still haven't got to play yet, but I'm looking forward to playing it as soon as I have time to do it. And when I have the money to purchase it, that is. But yeah, so, I mean, I don't want to talk too long on this because I know it's something that Dalton doesn't really like. But
Well, no, it's not that. It's just
pretty
the
much-
ending that pissed me off.
I know, and I don't want to get too deep into it because, I don't want to spoil it for people.
Doggo.
but-
Hold on, sorry. The dog is like right here on my mic. And I was worried he was going to trip the wire. I'm sorry to interrupt that. Continue.
What a cutie. Podcast dog, Ramses, everyone. No, but I mean, I like the idea of it being, a failed painter, I guess you would consider him. I mean,
Well, I guess he was considered a failed painter, I think, throughout the story.
yeah.
That's what you get from the backstory. It's probably a spoiler.
No, I mean, this has to do
Isn't
with
it his daughter that dies or something?
have
Or his
no
wife that dies, one of the
It's
two, and then he
something
goes
along
crazy
lines of that.
or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a while.
My
My hatred for the game has blocked out anything.
This is one of my favorite indie horror games that we got to play. Also got to play this with our cousin Nick. It was really fun. We had a good laugh about the baby
because
part.
of the baby.
Do you remember the other baby part though?
Yes, the stupid freaking portrait.
No,
right?
that's not. I'm not
Or
referring.
are you
to,
talking about
there's
the
a- okay,
baby part where it's in like the crib
Yes,
area?
but
that just like spins around and
he's-
stops on the baby's face.
Yes, he's referring to the.
There's a painting.
The painting. It is my avatar on my PS4 account. So whenever every time that someone sees me online, it is the picture.
No, I freaking
it's really
hate
like
it.
it's like a person in a suit but with a baby face.
It's a man baby.
Yeah, it's a man baby. Pretty much.
He's got a
what it is.
full on like mutton chops connected with a handlebar mustache.
And it's a baby.
That style, like a Michael look, is from Red Dead 2. A Michael look is what it is. But
and
he
it's
looks
just
like
a baby face. Yeah.
I don't understand it. It was one of the dumbest things that I saw from that game.
Well, it definitely shows that he was, I guess, a failure.
I don't even know if that was his painting.
I'm not sure.
Because it was in an office.
I think most of the paintings you see was him.
I don't know. I feel
But-
like that was something like a family heirloom of like his great grandfather that was a man child, literally.
One of the things I noticed about the game, and I mean, who knows if this is completely true or whatnot, but when you're completing the game, you have to continuously go back to your painting room, I guess is what you would consider.
At a certain point.
Your studio.
At a certain point.
Yeah, and you have to go and put you've collected things throughout his house, and then you go and you put things up, and the painting you get to the end where you finish your last painting, I guess you would say. But I'm not
Depending
going to
on how your ending goes.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, how it ends, but pretty much it's your final painting after, one of your loved ones has passed away. I don't know if it's the daughter of the wife. I'm not sure.
Both.
It's been a long time since I played this. I think from when it came out, so about 4 or 5 years ago. But pretty much, you watch the painting get made as you're collecting things. And it starts to look really creepy, no matter what the painting turns out to be at the very end, because there's like 4 different ways it could turn out. But it's really creepy as it being made. It looks like he's using his blood to paint some of it. It's weird.
His or somebody else's?
His or someone else's, yeah. There's actually one point in which you go into a room and you have to pull it. Like this, you don't have to go into this room. There's actually certain rooms, if you go into it, you go into it. Sometimes you don't have to go in to finish the game. But there's one room in which, I don't know what the backstory of it was or whatever, but I remember there was a chain, right? Yeah. And he starts pulling the chain, and all you hear is this person under there just being tortured. I guess there was something connected to the chain that had to do with the person, and you murdered them. I don't know, but it's horrifying. I remember that, and I was really creeped out. Honestly, this guy has like 10 floors in his house. I don't understand why it's such a large house.
I really don't remember that.
I think one of the things I take from this game that I always remember is that I can't remember the name of the song, but there was like a song from like
jumping all around, something like that.
Yeah, it's something on the lines of that, and it's from the 1920s, right? And it's like a song from the 1920s that I guess they remastered and they put on the game, and it's something that I always listen to whenever I play the game, and I'm like really like waiting for it. And when I watch people play it on YouTube and whatever, whether it be Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, all those people that I like watching to play that game, I always listen for that because I'm like, that's when the game starts getting interesting. Because then, it starts making you go a little crazy. But that's something I took away
Made
from
me
that
go
game. I
crazy.
thought it was really interesting. I've actually looked up the song a couple times and listened to it in full a couple of times because it's just
Creepy.
it's interesting and creepy to listen to at times. But yeah, it's
Maybe
from
you could do a cover of that.
oh god, cover that song? Yeah,
That's
totally.
funny.
Yeah, the 2021 cover of
100-year edition.
yeah, the 100-year edition. Yeah, it's probably about 100 years now.
Just use like a acoustic guitar cover of it.
Yeah. This is a very interesting game. I know Dalton isn't a big fan of it just because of the ending. However, I think overall the game, even Dalton said he was very involved in it until the very end.
Yeah, because it pissed me off.
So, it's also a game you can get through in about 5-6 hours, which is not very long. So, you can get through it in one sitting if you wanted to, if you knew what you were doing.
One stream.
But I would definitely look into it. Out of all the games in here, this is one I would definitely look into. It's really fun, and if you like art, it's something that I feel like you would enjoy. But going ahead and moving on, because I really want to talk about this. It's the one we were talking about earlier, about Dalton and his suspense. We're going to talk about Until Dawn.
Yeah. Let's try not to go too deep into some of these games.
No, I'm not going to spoil some of these.
No, I'm just saying so we can get through them all.
Absolutely.
Like, share some experiences and share, like, the basic details of it, but not get too deep into it just so we can talk about everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if not, this will turn into, like, a 2-hour podcast, which is not horrible. It's not horrible. It'd be one of the longest ones. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I digress.
I'm just gonna get into it when and if I talk a little long, I apologize. But Until Dawn is one of my favorite horror games, so I just want to like dive into it.
It was a PlayStation exclusive, right?
PS4 exclusive, and I think it's gonna be jumped on the PS5 as well as like a backwards compatible.
It is. It's part of the PlayStation Plus thing with the PS5.
Yeah.
Because there's a select number of PS4 games that will be available. Some of them include like Last of Us Remastered. Would you technically count that as a horror game? Last of Us?
Yeah. That and suspense,
could.
yeah. Mm-hmm. That'll be for another.
This is the brief part where we're talking about it, Last of Us. Because not Last of Us 2.
I'd like to bring up Last of Us in
Separate,
another episode about horror video games and suspense video games.
But it's got God of War 4 on there. It's got The Last Guardian, like stuff like that. Big games on the PS4.
The Last Guardian
Not
didn't
Spider-Man
get
4.
As much credit as it deserved.
Yeah, it's some of them. Shadows of the Colossus is on there. It did not have Spider-Man PS4, and I know the reason, but it kind of pisses me off just because it's part of the Ultimate Edition of Miles Morales.
Well, they gotta make bank.
I know, but it still pisses me off. But anyway, Until Dawn is a PS4 exclusive. It's a choice-making game. Mm-hmm. That's what sets it apart from certain games. It's honestly kind of like Telltale.
It's honestly one of the first choice-making games we played that wasn't a Telltale game.
Because we played Telltale, The Walking Dead.
See, I wanted to get into that with this, but I want to have another list of these at some point.
And try to finish the games too, or at least have a knowledge of how they end.
Oh yeah, because I mean we've played half of them in full, so I wouldn't really want to go into until I got the full experience.
Yeah.
So, but let me tell you, season 2 was the one I got most involved with, and it was like amazing. So, masterpiece of a game.
But if you know Telltale games, you know it's a choice-making game. Until Dawn is the same thing, except just like in a Telltale game, your choices have consequences. In Until Dawn, they really do have consequences because of the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is one small action could have a larger reaction further down the line. It comes from the theory that a butterfly in West Africa fluttering its wings can cause wind to travel across the Atlantic to become a hurricane and hit the North and South American continents. It's a theory, basically. The butterfly effect in the game, say one of the things in it, you shoot a squirrel instead of not shooting it and shooting a can. That affects you later down on because you can, I think, be attacked by animals. You can be attacked by animals.
I think one of the biggest things is that it's either deer or moose or something like that. I just recently played it, but I can't remember exactly if it was moose or deer, but it was one of them. I think it was a bunch of deer.
Literally, just about every action that you do has a consequence.
The difference
it could
between
be life or death.
The difference between this game and like Walking Dead, the Telltale games, and all that stuff is that with the Walking Dead series, I think 4 seasons of it, your choices matter. However, it's going to end pretty much with the same people living. There might
Sort
be
of,
one
yeah.
or two that might change, but majority of it, if there's like
Really, that
choices,
just goes
it's
by
not going to
story, though.
affect. Yeah, exactly. But
Well, the choices really has to do with the character's perspective of you and how you play. Like, they'll remember if you do something a certain way. You'll remember, your actions cause consequences with them. It's not really. You can choose between a death or something, or who decides to die sometimes, but really, it's not as permanent as that. I think most people, especially in season 2, will die either way.
yeah. But with this game, does it end the same? Yes. Until Dawn will end the exact same way no matter what. The people at the end is not always guaranteed.
Yeah.
There, I think, is about
Well,
7.
the ending isn't necessarily guaranteed.
No, and you're correct on that as well.
Well, sort of. A final cutscene will be different.
Yeah.
Because depending on how you play the game, if you find certain clues in the game...
The conclusion of the game is always going to be about the same, but it doesn't mean that it's going to end the exact same as every time you play it.
Yeah.
I think there's 7 main characters. I don't have it written down, but I'd like to try to get it because I just recently played it. It's Sam, Ashley, Emily, Jessica, Mike, Matt, Josh, and Chris. So 8.
8. Not including the 2 sisters in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and then you would add them. And I think that's Hannah and... oh, gosh. If I can't get the one person, I can't... oh, my gosh.
It doesn't matter anyway.
Anyway.
She dies anyway.
10 main characters, 2 die at the beginning. It's really not that big of a spoiler. The whole game's based around that.
Yeah. And it goes in a deeper lore, too, because
Yeah.
there's one whole overarching or arcing story with lore in it that surrounds the game that you might not know at first, because there's different horror aspects to the game, like ghosts or zombies or stuff like that is not true, but then you have the one thing that happens that is true, and you have to make sense of it.
Exactly. And you meet other characters on the way, but really they have not... Like, they do have big roles in the game, but they're not big in the conclusion of the game of who lives, who dies. But pretty much, you're in a lodge in some part of upper
Canada,
either lower Canada or upper United States, and
it's Canada.
I think
it's Canada.
is. But pretty much, you're in a you're snowed in a lodge and all that stuff and bull crap like that. But it's a really good game. I would look into it. Another game you can finish in about 5 or 6 hours. If you really know what you're doing. If not, then you get a lot more experience when you are playing it. It's very suspenseful, having to choose. It's quick time events, so you have to press buttons at certain times, or certain things will happen. Those could be death, honestly. Most of your actions and your decisions will affect the game and how it ends. Kind of different than what Telltale Games really did. You could literally put arguing with someone, and that person could die later on in the game. I mean, that is as simple as it can get. But it's a really suspenseful game, but it's also a really good game. I would definitely look into it if you haven't yet. It's been out for about 5 years, so you might think it's a little outdated, but the graphics are good.
It still holds up.
And the cast is fantastic. But I would definitely look into it. It's really great, but we're going to go ahead and move on to the next game, and that is Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, Dead by Daylight, it's a fun multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very fun multiplayer game. You play as a killer, and it's up to 5 people. 4 survivors, 1 killer. There's different killers in the base game that you can get. They have different aspects, different weapons, different abilities. But the DLC characters are what's fun. There's some DLC characters that are just characters that they have created based on like legends and stuff like that. There's like an Oni character. There's a Japanese woman that was killed, and it's like a spirit. There's a lot of different like legends that are in the game, sort of. But then there's horror icons like Ghostface from Scream, Leatherface, if I'm not mistaken, is in it.
Yes.
Michael Myers is in it. Freddy Krueger is in it. My personal favorite, just because he's OP, Pyramid Head from Silent Hills.
The Demogorgon from...
Demogorgon from Stranger Things. I think that's all for like the special character.
You also have
DLCs.
the masked killers, I guess you would call them, from the Saw franchise.
Oh, yeah, Pigface.
The Pigface,
Pighead,
yeah.
or whatever it is. Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, you got those characters.
It'd really be fun to have Jigsaw just ride around his bike and just like shank people in their legs. You know what I mean? Like on the bike and
That
just
would
like
make no sense though, but it'd be funny.
You know, it'd be really nice. Okay, here's a pitch.
If it was just traps.
Here's a pitch. You know how I think it is Pyramid Head. He can no, it's not Pyramid Head. It's Freddy Krueger.
Freddy. Hey, he can trap
and
you in a
can
dream
trap
realm.
in. Pretty much what you can do is you have they could have done this with the pig faces too, the pig mask or whatever. But pretty much Jigsaw gets you. You go into a blackout. You come back. You're in a saw trap, and you have to get out of it. If someone tries to help you, you both die, or you both.
No,
get
what
injured.
would be
That'd
something
really
funny?
cool.
It's a trap that you have to get out of that can turn into a kill. It's the reverse bear trap.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Like if he gets you in a certain ability, it turns into a reverse bear trap, and you have to try to get it out. You have to have someone help you, or else if you attempt to do it, just like in the real, like if you get on a hook, you die after a certain number of attempts.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would think that they would have to make it less violent with the reverse bear trap if they ever decided to do that.
Simple way you could do it. If the kill comes up, it just points to their feet.
Yeah.
You just hear the sound of them falling back.
Yeah. We're talking a little violent, but at the same time, it's all in the it's you know, it's horror movies. It's all, you know, fictional, and we're just, you know, talking about because we do appreciate
Horror
them.
movies, horror games, same thing.
But going into what I believe, what I think about Dead by Daylight. Well, let's go ahead and it was released in June of 2016. I don't understand why all these like suspense horror games came out in like the summer, but a lot of them did. Released in 2016, it's been out for about 4 years. I think it's really suspenseful if you're playing with friends and you're just not talking to one another, or with just randoms. It's really creative with the way they have the like generator and the backstory with just the base game without even the DLCs. But going into
my problem is, you said it's been out for 4 years. They've had 4 years to try to fix that stupid camera system when you are spectating somebody, and yet they haven't done it.
Yeah.
Just to give you information, if you play the game, if you die, you can spectate one of your teammates. There's no free roam camera. You look at the view that they look at. So your camera direction is their camera direction every time they move. It is irritating because every time you want to look around or something, you can't because it's locked onto them. You had 4 years to fix that. You've had so many people play your game, so many people expose your game like to their audiences and stuff. You make revenue off the game and its DLCs, and yet you can't fix that.
Okay, but overall, this game is pretty
yeah.
solid.
No, that's just the only gripe I have about that game.
Yeah.
I said every time we play it because I hate the camera.
Yeah. We're about to move into the next game, but before I do, this goes with this game and the next game. I really do feel the DLCs keep this game interesting and
It
keeps
it
it going.
fresh because it introduces new kills and killers, and new just abilities. Because with each character comes a perk, and you can use a perk from any character, any killer, any survivor, and stuff like that. So it's really interesting.
But moving into our next game, the reason I wanted to bring that up last was because the lack of DLC in this game makes this game uninteresting, but for the most part, this game on a base level is still really good, and that is Friday the 13th, the game.
Before he gets into it, the reason there's no DLC for this game, there is an ongoing lawsuit.
As of right now.
It's ongoing. It hasn't been settled at all.
Yeah.
Between... It's like, I can't remember who exactly it's against. It's between the studio that has done the Friday the 13th movies and those who, I think the original owners of the copyrights and stuff. Or it's like people that are claiming they have it's something to do with the copyrights and like what can be done with the rights to the character, Jason, Friday the 13th, the universe, all that kind of stuff. That's why there's been no movie since 2009, I believe, is the last time a Friday the 13th film has came out.
Yeah, 2009.
There's been no...
Which you're not counting this, but unless you count
Never Hike Alone.
Never Hike Alone.
That was a standalone fan
but...
film. Very well made. Check it out. It's on YouTube. But there's been no movie since 2009, no officially licensed stuff besides the game... was produced independently. It was a it was an indie game that fans like helped put money into to get it running. I don't think it was a Kickstarter. That's what it was. It was a Kickstarter game. A lot of people played it. One person, actually a few people. It was YouTubers and streamers like Cartoons, Ohmwrecker / The Masked Gamer. I think Gorilla Fent was one of the people that were big into it. But one of the biggest people, one of the biggest backers for this game was H2O Delirious. He is one character that just has a like hockey Jason mask throughout. Like that's his character, like his icon in GTA Online. Anything to do with Delirious, that is his logo, that is his icon, that is his image, is his character from GTA with a Jason mask. He was one of the biggest people into this game. They even got Tom Savini to come in and do a lot of this stuff.
Fantastic.
And I think Kane Hodder, the guy that portrayed Jason throughout a lot of the later films, they did a lot of mocap with him for the kills and stuff. Tom Savini created a custom Jason for the game, which was Savini Jason. It was basically a Jason that looked like he had a hellfire in him. He was like burning and stuff, and he's like the strongest Jason in the game, but it was only available to the Kickstarter backers that played the game, like Delirious and Ohm. Only those people were able to get it. Delirious actually has his own little Easter egg on one of the maps. In the cemetery, there is a teddy bear. Delirious, along with a shark eating a cheeseburger, he is known for teddy bears for some reason. Every single game he's in is a teddy bear. Like, if he sees it, of course there's going to be a teddy bear if Delirious plays it, is basically what it's getting at. But he's got a little Easter egg in it. It's really cool when you look at it just because all these people helped out with it. But it's a fun game. It's a lot like Dead by Daylight.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the reason there's no DLC unlike Dead by Daylight, because you can't do that kind of stuff. Just like Mortal Kombat X had Jason in it. It had Jason Voorhees as one of the DLC characters, along with Leatherface. You won't see that kind of stuff now until this lawsuit is settled, which could be probably like 5 more years.
Yeah.
I think it was like at least 5 more years until this thing could be settled, which is insane because that means no movies, no games, no DLC content for this game. The mobile game, PC game that was like the killer puzzle game, nothing like that. And it sucks. But this game is really good for what it has, because it has all of the classic Jason skins.
Oh, yeah. I think one of the biggest problems about this is that I really want Cyber Jason.
Uber Jason?
Yeah, Uber Jason. I apologize.
That's also the thing with this game. By the time they were gonna release a update for it that had Uber Jason from Jason X, the Jason Space movie. But they couldn't do it. They teased it when the game came out, like after a little bit, because they had a virtual cabin in it that you could do a lot of stuff that had a lot of Easter eggs and stuff, and you had to do certain things to unlock the secret ending, which was showing you Uber Jason. And they couldn't do anything because of the lawsuit. And so the last thing I heard about the lawsuit was last year, so I can't really say anything. But other than what I've already said. But that's the thing. Like, it was supposed to be the newest Jason. And up until that point, there really wouldn't have been any other Jason in there besides maybe 09 Jason and Ghost Jason from Never Hike Alone.
Yeah.
It's the only thing you could have done. But it's like, it was a hyped up thing. When we first saw it, we were hyped for it. But then you couldn't drop it because of the lawsuit. And it sucked. But the good thing about this game, why don't you tell them about the gameplay, at least, of the game, Glenn?
Well, there's a couple of different things you can do in the game. You can do your own, I guess if you want to practice for online play, you can do your own solo with AI, which would be the computer-generated people, and you'd play as Jason. You can practice and, go through and just pretty much clear out all of the people.
There's like an offline
fun
mode as well.
Yeah, it's fun for training. And just learning about the game, but really if you're trying to just play the game, it's really not the best. Online is pretty much just like Dead by Daylight. You have a group of people, one person's Jason, the other ones are campers. And let me say before I continue, this game really makes you feel like you're at Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, they recreate a lot of the legendary maps. I know there's a Crystal Lake map. There is a Jarvis Lakeside, like manor map. There's like at least one or two more maps after that,
Yeah.
I think. But with the maps, it also comes perks with a different Jason. Because depending on the Jason, it depends on what you can do on that map. If there's water, you can quickly go through the water and like skim through it underwater and stuff. You can kill people in the water. You can pull down a boat or like destroy a boat in the water. It's really cool. And each Jason has its own perk and different ability. If you go through from Friday the 13th 2 up until I think, was it 3 or 4? It was 4, right?
Yeah.
Jason doesn't die until the 4th one.
Yes. Something like that.
Up until the 4th one, it's Jason. The 5th one, A New Beginning, or The New Beginning, whichever one it was, it's an imposter Jason. But up until from 2 to 5 movie Jason and imposter Jason, you can run.
Oh yeah.
As Jason, you can run. You have the ability to run. And
because he really wasn't, even though he had like he was
supernatural, like he was superhuman. He wasn't supernatural.
Yeah, and then after that he became supernatural.
Yeah, because everything from 6 up until I guess 9 was the final one.
Yeah,
because Jason X wasn't included, was a supernatural Jason where he couldn't run. That's interesting just because he can't run, or if he's slow to this, slow to that.
However, he can do a lot more teleporting.
Yes. Well, they can all do teleporting, which is weird. But yeah. it's just an automatic Jason perk.
I think that's due to the fact that it's a video game, and that you need to get to things. And I think it is interesting though, because a lot of people don't think about this unless you really are into these movies, probably more than us.
Games.
But you don't really think about it because, you have the story of Jason died in the lake and all that stuff, but he really didn't. But the thing is that
it's never really clear for that.
Yeah.
Like, it says he dies, but clearly he didn't die because he's still human.
But the thing is he's not, like you said, he's not supernatural until after he was actually killed by Tommy, yes. Jarvis. I was trying to think of his name off the top of my head. I was like, I know it's Jarvis because you were just talking about him, but I can't think of the name. But yes, Tommy Jarvis in the 4th movie, I believe it was. And then after that, he becomes supernatural. He has a lot more abilities to kind of just... He gets stabbed in the face, he comes back. He just stands right back up. It's really more of that. Before that wasn't really the case. He kind of was just really, really strong, I guess you could say. And he, for some reason, could throw people around like ragdolls. I mean, you never would really think he was human. But then after that, he actually did a lot more than just that. I mean, we see from Jason Goes to Manhattan or whatever. He literally punches a guy's head off in one hit. Just one good hit.
I love the fact that is one of the kills that you can get in that game. Speaking of the kills, I want to talk a little bit about that because each Jason has a specific weapon. When you get to a certain level, I think it's level 50, you're able to switch weapons like throughout the Jasons. But until you get to that level, which is very hard to do, I think, you have to use the weapon that is assigned to that Jason, be it a machete, a pitchfork, or I think for the fake Jason from number 5, it's shears, garden shears. Each weapon has a different kill animation. You can assign different kills to the Jasons because you can buy different skills and different kills, and it's really cool just because you can buy them and you can put them on different characters. There's one that you can punch somebody's head off, punch a hole through their heart. The basic just asphyxiation and just choke them out, toss them out a window. There's environmental kills. You can throw them on a fire. You can throw them on a tree stump. You can break a bird bath and throw them there. You can throw them on the wall, bash their head on the wall, and then step on their back and crack them in half. And the one kill that is like a lot of people, I can't remember if they're like or dislike. It's the infamous Jason kill where he bashes someone in a sleeping bag on a tree.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the earlier Jasons. I know Friday the 13th, the remake in 2009, sort of paid homage to that, but instead of beating them on the tree, they kind of hung them in the bag while they were still alive and then set it on fire.
They didn't set it. They didn't set it on fire. Pretty much what they did was Jason hung it over a campfire and pretty much just let them
it caught on fire.
Yeah, it was mostly just being I would say burned alive, but more it was pretty much being cooked alive.
Well, no, they were burned.
Absolutely.
It wasn't
but
like
it was more
was it an iron bowl?
Oh yeah, it's
Copper
definitely
bowl?
nothing like that.
Whatever
but,
it's called.
Yeah.
Where they literally tortured them and burned them alive in like Roman, Greek history, whichever one it was.
But this girl was just roasting on an open fire. She was just doing that stuff, and she died from that, obviously, and also it's a movie, so obviously. But getting back to it,
then they kind of pay like Jason X kind of
that's what I was
called
gonna
back to
say.
back because on the fake Earth, he beat one of the girls with another girl in a sleeping bag, and it's just freaking hilarious.
Yes. It's been quite a while since I've watched the 2009 remake, so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was like, that's when I remember the most. That and the crossbow.
Yeah,
which was weird. Which was so weird.
It pissed me off, but then you realize, well...
It's pretty cool, though.
Well,
pretty cool,
Jason's already... No, that was a bow and arrow.
Was it a bow? I thought it was a crossbow.
In an older film, one of the first older films, when he had the hockey mask, so it was probably 3 or 4, he uses a crossbow.
Yeah.
And it pissed me off whenever he used a bow and arrow because, Jason doesn't do that. But then you realize, well, he used a crossbow or a crossbolt, whatever it was, like a bolt bow or whatever. I don't know.
Now,
he uses that and it's like, oh, well, Jason's already used that before. So it's not really weird.
Correct me if I'm wrong. And if you don't know and someone in the comments knows, please just let me know very politely. I'm pretty sure the 2009 movie is what it would be considered, I guess, before he turned supernatural.
It is.
Like none of this, like obviously this is not based in like the 80s and that there's like more like Tommy Jarvis and all that stuff. It's kind of just a remake of the franchise.
It is because it is before he's supernatural. Basically what it is, it's
the first movie kind of exists in this franchise.
Sort of in a different way.
Yeah.
But he has his potato sack mask before he gets his hockey mask. So it echoes the second and third film in that retrospect. Or in that respect. But he's not supernatural. No, he uses like traps and stuff. He's more resourceful. He's got like this underground tunnel system where it's his base and stuff. He's not supernatural. He is human, but he's superhuman. It's basically, he's the same Jason pretty much. Not canonically. This is not canon, technically, I don't think. Depending on how you view it, kind of like with Halloween, depending on how you view it. He is not supernatural. He has not died yet. He was, presumed dead, just like in the original movies, but he was not dead. He doesn't even die at the end of the film, I don't think. So no, he's not supernatural. But he is human, but he's superhuman. He has the strength of not a regular person.
Yeah. Before we, move to the next game, I do want to bring up this. I didn't get through all the features of the game, actually, because there was one that I didn't bring up. The offline, virtual cabin.
I said that.
Well, you had brought it up, but we didn't really get to go in
I thought it was
super...
like the Easter eggs.
Yeah,
and
you had, but pretty much there's another offline where you can go in through a virtual cabin of pretty much... You get to see all the stuff from all the old movies, I guess all the old deaths, I guess you would say. Like
you see the characters, and then at a certain point in the cabin, after you do a couple Easter egg things, it switches and it turns into the death scenes in the cabin.
Yeah.
And outside the cabin. Like in the cabin, you can find death scenes from the original film, like the shower death scene, Kevin Bacon's death scene.
I'm pretty sure they have Kevin Bacon's death scene in
because pretty much Jason is in the virtual cabin following you, sort of. And he's starting to do these things and killing these people. And at one point you have to follow a maze of different signs and stuff. And if you accidentally go through the wrong one, he'll show up and kill you. But I know like there's different Easter eggs for different kills outside the cabin as well. So that's cool.
Yeah. I just really think this game overall, like I really wish there was DLC, but I understand why there's not and why there hasn't been in 4 years. But I really think this game it's solid for what it is. I think maybe I like Dead by Daylight a little more, but I think that's because there are DLCs to keep it very fresh.
Well, I also want to play this game again.
Oh, absolutely. I'm hoping to do it in the next, couple days, if not weeks. Before
we got to get people to get the game back and
Yeah.
own the game before we can even do it.
And we
with
can have
people.
some fun together.
Because playing with randos isn't as fun as it normally as you would think it would be.
Yeah. But moving on from games that have to do with, I guess, cinematic horror, icons. Let's talk about Outlast.
I didn't know if you were going to bring it up.
Oh yeah,
I was going to bring it up if you didn't. That's actually one of the games that I thought about.
Thank goodness.
Outlast is a first-person game that takes place at an asylum.
It's an asylum in the mountains of Colorado.
Like, basically, you play as a reporter that is trying to look into reports of the like different allegations, I think, from the asylum and stuff. So you try to go in there and look and get your own info. But it turns out that there's a lot of crap in this asylum. There's crazy people. There's crazy mutants. There's a Siamese twins that I think we called the Ball Brothers or something because they had their fucking balls hanging out. It's very explicit. And I think it's all men, by the way. It's like all men inside this asylum.
I don't think there's.
So it's like
I think it's
asylum.
definitely an old like. I wouldn't say it older asylum because it really is just an all male asylum.
But it makes sense that it'd be an all male asylum because it's kind of like an all male prison or all women's prison.
Yeah.
One messed up thing that is in the game, and I won't go into explicit detail because it's kind of messed up. There's one character, like one of the final characters, kind of like a final boss in the game. The game goes into like a supernatural thing at the end. I haven't really played through it that much, but I know that it's like one of the.
It was
characters,
another one we really got to play with our cousin Nick.
Yeah, he tries to castrate you and turn you into a woman, like genitalia wise. So that's really weird.
You know what's kind of interesting about that?
What
is that kind of happens at the beginning of the DLC?
Yeah, it's the same character.
Yeah.
Not the same character that you play as, because it takes place around the same time as the original game. Mm-hmm. But, because I think the DLC ends up at the end of the original, or the first game. Something like that.
I remember going through the game, but I never went through the DLC.
But it's a horror suspense game because you're basically trying to record this stuff, and it's dark at certain points, but you have a camcorder. And it has a night vision mode, but you also have to make sure that you keep up your batteries, because if you don't, your camcorder dies, your night vision dies, and you're left in the dark alone with these crazy SOBs trying to murder you or trying to make you a woman. Which is very weird and scary in itself. But like, it's just one of those horror games. It's another indie horror game that caught a lot of traction with different people, like Markiplier. I know for a fact PewDiePie, because PewDiePie played the second one. He played Outlast 2, I know for a fact. Maybe Outlast 3.
There is no such thing as Outlast 3.
Outlast 3 hasn't came out yet?
You have... Okay, so...
I thought they announced it. I thought it came out.
I don't think it came out if they announced it. They have... So this original one came out in 2013, right?
Yeah.
DLC was right after. I don't have an exact date for that. And then there was a sequel. I don't have the exact date, but it was in the last... 3 years, I think it was. Probably 2018, 2017.
Something like that.
It's a whole different it's a whole different type game. It's not it has nothing to do with an asylum. But
no, it's more of like almost like The Village. It's kind of like out there in a different,
it kind of
reminds me. It kind
of reminds me of like The Village in Resident Evil, but then kind of Slenderman type.
Slender the Arrival, just because you're looking for somebody. I think it's like your wife or something, maybe.
Something like that. But I don't think they've announced the third one. They might have, but it's definitely not out yet.
Was there some kind of Trinity thing that came out? That was the deal. It was the first game, the DLC, and the second game.
Yeah, that's what it was.
What I was thinking of.
Yeah, it came out with a disc version on. I know PS4, maybe Xbox One, but it was the first one, the DLC, and the second one together. Because I remember I wanted to purchase it, and then I never did, and I totally forgot about it. But I do need to get it back so I can play the first one again, do the DLC, and then play the second one. This one I think it's just really forgotten because of all the other games. However, I feel like if they made a third one, maybe it would bring more attention to it. But this one was definitely fun. It was horrifying because there's just like at the very beginning, or at least the first 2 or 3 hours, it's just like a guy following you, and it's really weird.
Yo, I just looked it up. Okay. Outlast 3 is real.
It's already out?
No, it has a 2021 release date.
Oh, okay.
It's based on, it's a prequel. Oh, it's a prequel to the first 2 games.
Oh.
It's Cold War setting. So it's probably has something to do with Oh, what was it?
By the way, I do apologize for not knowing that there was an Outlast 3
I thought
coming
I
out.
saw something about it, but I wasn't
should have read
quite
up on
sure.
that, but I know what
And
I know.
it is
so.
real because it's by the same developer and publisher, Red Barrels.
Oh, okay.
There might be a trailer. I'm not sure.
Gosh, can we get a VR?
It probably will be. Well, they haven't announced the platforms yet, so they're
Yeah.
probably waiting for the next gen to do it.
Yeah.
But was it called the Whistleblower?
Yeah.
That's what it was called. Okay, I think that has something to do with like the entity at the end of the first game or something that like takes hold of you or something.
Yeah.
It's not really a spoiler because I really don't know much about it, but it's weird. It's
Yeah.
really, really weird.
This game is definitely pretty cool though, and now that I know about what the third one's gonna be based off of, I'm more excited than I was even before.
Yeah.
So
it
definitely
might go
excited
into since it's Cold War equipment and stuff. It said it might go into what happened in the original asylum.
Yeah.
In Colorado, because
that'd be really cool.
like there has to be some reason the inmates are superhuman and stuff like that.
Yeah,
There's gotta be.
It's definitely not them just going maybe insane. It has nothing to do with that. Probably
No,
it has
because
to do
they're,
with
like-
just there was something that happened.
Well, like I said, like the conjoined or the Siamese twins, whatever they were that I mentioned earlier, there's got to be a reason. I know that is a real medical anomaly, but there's got to be a reason for them to be like that because the way they are is not natural. There has to be some reason they're like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be through these experiments with like the whistleblower and stuff like that.
Yeah. But we're going to go ahead. I think we should move on to the next one. I'm really excited about Outlast 3 now. Thank you for letting me know. We're going to move on. There's two more. I think I saved the best for last for mostly
Really?
not
There's
because...
only two more. I thought you had a whole list.
Oh, that was... there. We've already went through 8.
Really? Okay, that's good. And I have
Yeah.
some to bring up possibly.
But I saved these last two because I think they're the most iconic ones of the last couple years. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. The one before the final, so the next to last, is PT, also known as the Silent Hills playable teaser.
The game that was never made.
Exactly.
Unless you count Death Stranding.
Yes. So this was released in 2014 on the PS4. It was supposed to have a release for Silent Hills a couple years later, 2015, 16, probably up to 17, who knows. However, it was canceled in April of 2015 due to differences, and I think the releasing of the creator of, like, the main guy of Silent Hill. However...
It was Hideo Kojima, wasn't it?
Yes, something on the lines of that.
Because it was Kojima, his production company, or his company that did the Metal Gear Solid games as well.
Now, this game was slightly, I guess, released in 2019 as Death Stranding. However, it kind of kept with the whole, I guess, alien-type deal that it was originally going to be about. However, instead of a Silent Hill game, you get pretty much a walking simulator sponsored by Monster Energy, which this podcast is not sponsored by.
Hell, I wish.
But my point is that this is what I was talking about earlier about the, I guess, the sequel that, you know, you really didn't enjoy. Like, it was a fine game, but it wasn't what people were expecting. This is not a sequel, but this is also...
Well, Death Stranding wasn't a sequel either. It's
No,
just
it
the
wasn't.
fact that he had to reinvent something, and he went with what
And
he
like I
thought
said,
would be good. And it was good for some
people
people.
enjoyed this game. However, it
Death
wasn't...
Stranding. People enjoyed Death Stranding.
Yeah, it wasn't as well received as the playable teaser for Silent Hills was, because that thing was
Well, they had to make
legendary.
a completely different game.
Exactly. But like I said, they did kind of go on the lines of what the game was.
Well, I don't know if it was necessarily... I watched a little bit of Jacksepticeye
PT was most
streams.
definitely, or sorry, Silent Hills was most definitely going towards
An
the
alien aspect, yeah,
aspect
but
of
not...
it, yes. Not a walking simulator.
No,
with babies.
but Death Stranding was different because the Death Stranding was like an event that had happened
Yeah.
in the game universe or something that caused almost like a mass extinction, and it's like it caused certain people to be a certain way. I can't
Yeah.
remember. Norman Reedus plays the main character. Like, he's one of the types of people that have like a certain connection.
Yeah.
It's weird. I didn't really watch much into it. I think Jacksepticeye played all throughout it.
Yeah.
So he has the videos out there, you know, his playthrough, I'd say go watch it just because it's Jacksepticeye, his playthrough. It wasn't annoying like he normally can be. So it's really, go check it out if you want to understand the game itself. one person. Oh my god, what is his name? Oh no, he is a like massive horror director. He did Pan's Labyrinth. Del Toro. He makes a cameo in it. He has a role in it. That was really cool to see. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Because he also did the first two Hellboy movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Pan's Labyrinth is one of his most well known. And he did Shape of Water, I believe.
Yes.
Because that was a lot of people thought that was connected to Hellboy just because the characters look the same.
Yeah.
What is his name? Oh, my friend's gonna kill me if she listens to this and knows that I don't know his character's name. Oh no, it's the fish guy in Hellboy.
Okay.
Benjamin,
Something like that.
something like that. Oh no, I forgot his name.
I never really watched the Hellboys, so I'm not quite
Well, it's
sure.
just the character
I
in like,
know.
the comics and stuff too. I just forgot the name. She's gonna kill me if she watches this.
But anyway, Death Stranding was kind of well received, but at the same time, people were expecting something
It was
different.
mixed, I think.
However, this spot, even though I have nothing against Death Stranding, this spot is for the iconic PT. So we're gonna go and talk more into that. This was canceled in 2015. This was released though in 2014. But the main character you play as you find out at the end, is Norman Reedus. If you don't know who that is, it is Daryl Dixon from the Walking Dead franchise. Really interesting to see him play a character in what was supposed to be a Silent Hill game. But I think that's really cool that...
Well, I think it was because it was going off of a different direction. It was supposed to be in Silent Hill, but just because it was a new character, new story, instead of being the main focus, that one guy, I think it was just in the original Silent Hills. Or Silent Hill, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know the game as much. I know some things. I know like Silent Hill 2 or something had the dog being the mastermind in that certain ending.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. That was BS.
But pretty much to sum up this game, because I don't feel bad about spoiling it for two reasons. Number one, the game was canceled. And number two, you can't get a hold of this game any longer.
No, you can't play it.
After it was, I guess it was canceled in 2015, they took it off the PlayStation Store. Like, you can't reinstall it. I can't reinstall it on mine. You literally can't. It's gone off of the face of the earth. However, you still have videos and, all that about it. So pretty much, I got to do one playthrough of this before I deleted it, and I was an idiot for that because I never knew what was going to happen. I was introduced to this by my cousin Nick, once again. Dalton kind of went into this game a little bit with me, but I think this was more of a me trying to get into horror games.
Mostly me at the end because I tried to do the freaking how to get the ending.
Yeah.
Is what I tried to do. I tried to do all the steps to get the ending.
Oh, yeah.
I remember doing a stupid phone call with the stupid mic and stuff that you had to do. You had to say hello or whatever it was. Call at a certain time. This and that. Bunch of BS.
Yes. But this game pretty much is that you're in this house. Like, you start off in this, like, I guess you could consider it like a garage. I don't know. It's more of just like an empty room. And then you open a door and it's this house. And pretty much you're allowed to go through one long hallway, and then you go through another door, and then when you open that door, it's literally just the other side of the house again, and you go through it over and over and over and over again. So little things start getting brought up, like there's a radio talking about a murder and all that stuff. However, then it starts talking to you about things and how they know you did stuff. And then he goes, the most iconic thing I remember is he goes, "Don't turn that dial now, we're just getting started."
Don't turn that dial now, we're just getting started.
He says it just like that.
Well, sort of. I don't
And then he keeps talking, and he starts saying, turn around, turn around. You finally have to
then he
turn...
gets mad. It's like, turn around.
Yes, and then you have to turn around in order to continue the trailer, or what you would call a teaser, but it's pretty much just like a playable trailer for the game. And you turn around, big jump scare, and that's the only jump scare in the entire game, pretty much. You will find later on a refrigerator of blood full of blood, and you can hear someone screaming from the ceiling of the house. You can see someone staring at you from the ceiling of the house, like on the upstairs that you can't access. But I think the biggest thing that people remember about this game when it comes to the horror aspect is that the bathroom opens up, And then when you go into the bathroom, this is a little graphic, so you may skip if you would like. But pretty much there is a fetus in the sink of the bathroom, and it pretty much starts crying like a baby, and then it has the voice of the person on the radio. It's really creepy, and it kind of goes in, like, I thought maybe it would go into more of the paranormal stuff with Silent Hill. However, I think it actually goes more into the alien aspect of it, really more of the supernatural type deal. It's a very creepy game, but it would have sold really well if it would have came out, really. This trailer, even though I can't play it anymore, and I know no one really can play unless it is downloaded on their PlayStation still, one of the best things that could have ever happened to especially the PlayStation 4, but I think horror video games in general, and it's very mysterious because what would that game have been like if it would have came out?
Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorites, but moving on to our final game of this podcast, which is
possibly the final game of the podcast.
Yes. There might be another one. There might be a little bonus one at the very end. However, this is probably the most iconic horror game of the last 5 years, but probably the decade, honestly. And that is Five Nights at Freddy's.
Just to give you clarification, if you legit just want to know more about Five Nights at Freddy's, just look at Markiplier. He is the self-proclaimed king of Five Nights at Freddy's. He has played Five Nights at Freddy's from its inception all the way up until Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted for the VR. He's literally played every single Five Nights at Freddy's game, every single Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff, for better or worse. Just legit, just go look at his stuff, and go look up Game Theorist the theories, just because that dives into the lore. Just because that stuff I watch regularly almost, especially when the games were out back in 2015, 2014, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So you really want to go and watch those just to get a feel for the game and to get like over the top reaction, if you want to say that, but just reactions in general just because of this game. Or play it for yourself. The one thing that a lot of people know about this game is the release schedule for every single flippin' sequel.
Yes. So the first game came out in July of 2014. The sequel for that came out in November of 2014, the same year. Just a few months later, in March of 2015, the third one would come out. The fourth one was supposed to come out in October of 2015. However, it got an early release of July of 2015, and they did a Halloween DLC update for it in October of 2015. Five Nights at Freddy's sister location had different characters, came out in October of 2016. However, before that, we can't forget FNAF World, that came out in January of 2016, that quickly got taken off of the shelves because of how bad it was. And then you would go to, after that, you would go to the Pizza Simulator of December of 2017.
Which was really just a closet Five Nights at Freddy's game, because at the, like, in between it, you would go into parts where you would just try to talk, or not talk, but like figure out what was going on with certain animatronics, and one of them was Baby from Sister Location, mm-hmm. and then it was another one and stuff, and then I know at the end, like towards the end of the Pizza Simulator, you were trying to play, like, basically Five Nights at Freddy's and try to keep out the animatronics, and at the end, spoiler a little bit, not really much, just because there's more games. Basically, you burn the place for the, that the animatronics are in to try to end the cycle.
And then you have Ultimate Custom Night, I guess what you would call it.
It is Ultimate Custom.
June of 2018, and then you would have Help Wanted in May of 2019, and now we are going towards Security Breach. That's supposed to come out on the PS5. I don't know if it's supposed to be. I don't believe it's supposed to be VR like Help Wanted was, but it's more of just an interactive PS5 FNAF game. It's to be decided. However, I'd like to think that it's going to be 2021.
It'll be 2021. There's no way it's going to be a launch title.
However, the only way that this would be, it would be released at the time of 2021 would be if, PlayStation made that happen, because they like to release things early. We could see it in December, but I'm sure we probably won't. It will be sometime in 2021.
Knowing Scott Cawthon, it could release early, but seeing the fact that it's for a bigger system and not just for PC or an app, it'll be longer. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Especially if it was kept in the dark for so long.
But since you, like you were saying, you know, watch a lot of stuff about FNAF, which I do too, but I know you watch it a lot more than me. You can go and talk about it if you would like, Dalton.
Talk about what?
Just FNAF in general. Maybe your favorite things, maybe just the history of it, whatever.
Well, I mean, I'm not really going to go into the history. I feel like that could be a video on itself for this.
Yeah.
Just like a Five Nights at Freddy's history. If you really want the history, just watch... I'll just give a little synopsis. If you want the history, probably just go watch a Markiplier video or like a film... Or not film theorist, a game theory video. But basically the gist is you're at a location where the franchise, the Freddy Fazbear Entertainment franchise, has had a string of murders before, more specifically the Bite of 87, and a location where 6 kids were killed. And basically, before any of the lore really came out, everyone thought that Freddy was... the animatronics were possessed. They are possessed, technically. But everyone thought that Freddy was the one controlling all of the different animatronics because, like, the animatronics would say things like, help us or something, or we didn't mean to, or whatever it was. So a lot of people thought that Freddy was pulling the strings as an undead, spirit, and that the rest of them were just doing his bidding. But then more of the stuff came out. You play as a security guard in just about all of them, with the exception of VR Help Wanted. It's not a security guard, but you kind of go into play the games and stuff. And Pizza Simulator, I don't think you're technically a guard, but you do have to basically do the same things that guards used to do. It's really deep in lore that, like I said before, if you go and watch those videos on them, it really goes deep into it and has a better understanding of it, because each game adds something different, and the second one being a prequel adds layers to the different games. And Five Nights at Freddy's 4 being just, you playing as a child in a nightmare sequence as you die is very interesting and creepy at the same time. It's really cool. That's really all I have to say about Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, that's a whole nother topic to dive into just because of the lore itself and the ever-changing lore, just because there's books being put out. The new game, we don't know what it's going to be about because it's a new location, new animatronics, new everything. You never know what it could be about.
Yeah. This is definitely one of the most interesting horror games to ever come out, mostly because there's so much to build on and so many secrets from 6 years ago that still haven't been solved.
Well, I think most of them haven't been solved, but just stuff that keeps adding on, like different secrets, maybe.
Yeah.
There is probably some secrets that have not been uncovered yet. But before we end it, I will bring up, there's one franchise technically we did not talk about. There's probably a lot that we didn't talk about.
Ooh, bonus.
But we didn't say anything about the Call of Duty zombies.
Oh, yeah.
From World at War all the way up to the newest entry in the Call of Duty series, Cold War zombies. Now, when you think of zombies, most people think of the Black Ops zombies. The Black Ops Zombies franchise, from the first Black Ops game back in 2010 all the way up until Black Ops 4, ending the franchise's main series of zombies games, because it started World at War, but the main continuity of the game started with Treyarch in the the Black Ops like stuff, and it ended with Black Ops 4. But they announced the trailer today. If you have not seen it, go check it out. It's actually pretty interesting. It's based in the same universe as the Black Ops zombies, but you don't play as Nikolai or anybody like that. You play as new people, and there's different options. Which really, what you know about the Call of Duty Zombies franchise, you wave after wave of relentless zombies and demon dogs and different stuff depending on which series you play in. It's an endless, it's relentless rounds, Easter eggs to do, sort of a story to tell. But with the new the Cold War zombies, you don't start off with a pistol. You can put in your own class. So you can start off with like an M16 or an AK-47 and start playing the game. You don't have to start with a pistol. You also can normally when you play zombies, the only way to finish zombies, unless you do like the Easter eggs, the only way out is death, right?
Pretty much.
The only way to get out. You don't have to. You can call in a helicopter support to get you out of there, because the story, based on the story, you're like a reconnaissance team from the CIA or something to do this kind of stuff. And basically, you can call in for help to get out of there, and you can get on a helicopter, but you have to go through 2 rounds of relentless zombies. Literally, like, they're tuned up all the way, I think in the video, they said up to 11. So they'll come in at you hard, so you have to work for getting out of there. But, perks are back, Pack-a-Punch is back again. They're going to have, I know they showed ray gun, so, you can always have ray gun in the game. New weapons, I think Blunderbuss might have been in it, but it was a new weapon that it's a giant thing that you shoot, and it could just decimate rows of zombies. It looks sick. Free DLC. You do not have to pay for any of the maps when they come out. They will be free to download and stuff. But the zombies in itself is something to talk about by itself probably too. Like as a small bonus episode, just because of all the different games that the Call of Duty franchise has had. Almost every game after World at War has had different zombie modes. Besides the the Modern Warfare franchise, Infinite Warfare had it, Advanced Warfare had it, and all the Black Ops games had it, but not any of the Modern Warfare stuff. Call of Duty Ghost had aliens instead of zombies, but other than that, the Call of Duty franchise, especially most recently, is known for the zombie modes in its games. And it's really, you can't talk about horror games without talking about that, because as soon as you hear, the announcer just say, "Fetch me their souls," you don't, or hearing the original Black Ops Zombies music, you don't get, there's no way you cannot not get chills.
Yeah.
Either way I said that, it was going to be a double negative, but there's no way you wouldn't be able to get chills from that, just hearing it. For nostalgia, or because you're just going to get scared out of your mind.
Yeah.
But I think that'll end it for this episode.
I'd like to do another one of these, like a sequel.
Yeah, I would.
To this
because
one.
Obviously there's games that we haven't talked about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's actually a couple games we didn't talk about this that I won't say. I'll say it off camera or off mic to Clinton so that we can get another list set up. But there's one big franchise that we didn't talk about, so we probably do that near the tail end of October. Hopefully, if we don't.
Look forward to it. Hopefully, we can try to get it in.
Near the end of October,
Actually, you know
November.
what? No, I am promising that we will do it.
Next week, I wonder. Next week, I'm undecided on what we want to do. Not necessarily next week. With the next episode. Might try to get a friend of ours in here to talk about some horror films. Maybe. I want to try. I want to see when he's free. I want to see what we could possibly talk about. But either that, or what do you think could be the next possible point?
Well, we're definitely gonna stay with the October theme.
Well, yeah,
definitely Halloween.
Talking with
pretty much,
one of our friends about
pretty much all I can say is that stay tuned for all we have. Hopefully, we're trying to do some really exciting things to talk about on the podcast. Just stay tuned, and we will try to give the best content we possibly can on this.
Until next time, you can find all of us on Instagram.
All the links will be in the description.
You can follow me at Ellie Dubrand on Instagram. You can also find our wrestling podcast editor, Ethan, at EthanThompson__ on Instagram.
You can find me at ClintonWells2001, and you can find our music engineer, Chance, at chance.cummings.507 on Instagram.
And don't forget, I know I said it earlier in the video, but I'm going to do it again. Don't forget to like, hit that share button, subscribe, and hit that notification button, that bell. If you like our podcast, spread it to your friends. Tell them to give it a shout out. And if you don't want to send it to your friends, send it to your enemies. If you don't like it, the more of a merrier.
Exactly.
But until next time, take it easy.
Peace.